brother. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Hey, Scott, stay up here real quick. Scotty Elliott, come up here real fast. Guys, I want to, is this thing, can you guys hear me? Is this even working?
Yeah, I think it's I'm back here, Race. I'm back here. You can see me. There we go. You have to turn it on.
There we go. All right, I want to be like Brandon Clay and walk around with a microphone. I don't know how you did this without tripping over this thing. So anyway, I want to thank both of these people. But first off, Scotty Elliott. Scotty, I don't know what you're going through right now, but I've always looked at you as the best leader in business that I have ever experienced. And whenever I talk to you, it brings me closer to God. And I think that I'm probably not the only person in this room that feels that way. Scott Glanton, I don't know if I've known anybody who I can count on more in business than you. Every single time I call this man right here, he's always there. And it's always a positive attitude, and he's just on it. And I trust somebody. And in this business, where we're in this people business, there could be so much fluff out there where we don't know who to believe in. But these two people right here stand high above the rest of the crowd. So I want everybody in this room to stand up real quick and give them a standing round of applause. All right, I also want to thank Frank and Kimmy Sayer. You guys crushed it last night. Did they not do an amazing job? Honestly, my partnership with you guys, coming from myself as well as Tony Palmerico, we appreciate you guys more than you know. It was shortly, a little bit under a year ago when we came here, and it's just been unbelievable. And I think that I've honestly learned more from you than maybe even what you have from me, but I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Kimmy, and you guys are unbelievable, so thank you. All right, so with American Legacy, first off, a little bit about us. We started recruiting about a year ago, a little bit less than a year ago. And less than a year ago, we were doing about $0 in annual premium, like everybody starts off. Today, we're doing about $50,000 a week. Scotty Elliott, thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Scotty Elliott asked me what my company's PPL was. We're on the broker side, so we don't track that very much, but our agency PPL average is $146.12, so we're very proud of that as well. But the thing that we focus on is we develop people first, and we teach them final expense second. You want to know the reason why One Life America is successful? Is because they start with what they believe. Scotty has brought One Life America from where they were to where they are now because they start with what they believe. If you look at Primerica, if you look at any agency, any organization, they start with what they believe first. They don't start with the product knowledge. They don't start with all these other things, these details. When you sit down with your final expense prospects, you start with, you want to know why you need to take out this policy, Mrs. Jones? It's because you want to be able to provide peace of mind for your family when you die someday. It's not about this benefit, that benefit, and the other benefit. It's because you care about your daughter. And that's what every single company who's ever wildly successful does, is they put people first, and then they also focus on the mission. What does your company stand for? How many people in this room are building a team currently? So almost everybody. If you start with what you believe first, and then teach them how to sell final expense second, that's when you start to create something that is unbelievable. You know, when people just work for a company, they look at it as if it's a job. What they do is they look at the clock when it's 4:45, they take a long bathroom break. And then they slowly but surely make it around and talk to a few other people. By the time that it's 4:55, they're walking out the door and they're leaving. But when somebody is on a mission with a company, a movement, They don't care about the time. And the thing that we do, the reason why our group me blows up at midnight is because we care about our people first. And we teach final expense second. The mechanics of final expense, can I tell you guys something? It's really simple. It's not really hard. To become a doctor, you got to go to school for like 8 years. To become an insurance agent, you got to go to school for like 1 day. I mean, so the mechanics of it are not difficult, but what's hard is all this noise inside of our head. Go ahead and flip the next slide here. So here's what American Legacy believes. What we believe, we're going to start off with our mission statement here. Go ahead and click on it. Sorry. You're good, man. Our mission is to build an organization that fosters ambition and entrepreneurship, facilitating a better life for our agents while providing amazing products and services for our clients. Now, we talk about the products and services in our mission statement, but that's not the main thing that we do. We want to help our agents facilitate a better life. And I think that all of us start off our life, we think these amazing things can happen. And I think that people believe when they start off, when they're young, I think that everybody believes that they can do something great with their life. But slowly but surely, all of us become bruised and we become broken. There's a divorce, there's a bankruptcy, there's a foreclosure. And slowly but surely, life just smacks the dreams right out of you. And that's where people start off sometimes with American Legacy. They come broken. And I'm with Brandon. I will take the broken people, because I was broken when I first came into this business. When I first started, I was so insecure about who I was and what I can offer to the marketplace. I grew up where the doctors would tell me I had ADD. Now that's not a big thing, but what it does inside your head is it messes with you. I was rushed every single week after school to the Cleveland Clinic, and they were trying to figure out why I couldn't think like everybody else in my class. Why whenever I would raise my hand, I couldn't get the answer right. I struggled to get C's. And I developed this belief in my mind that business was for smart people in school. And I was on Adderall, I was on anxiety medications, depression medications, all up until I was 18 years old. I had this belief about myself that was so limiting, so crippling, that I couldn't even believe in me. And maybe there's somebody else in this room that feels that way, but when I say what our company believes is we want to facilitate a better life for our agents, I really mean that. Because that's what this industry has given to me. I've been able to literally change my life. And I want to help other people change it too. Next slide. We believe that every person God created has a purpose and can achieve great things in their life. We really believe that. Next slide. We believe in stepping outside our comfort zone into the unknown so we can impact the world. These are the kind of movements that people get behind. This is why people are with One Life America. They don't care about One Life America's products, commission levels. They care about, do they care about us as individuals? That's the first thing that I noticed about Scotty Elliott. That's the first thing that I noticed about Scott Glanton and everybody else at One Life is they cared about me first, and then the commission contracts and everything else is next. You look at Steve Jobs, the way that he would sell a computer is he would basically say, what we believe at Apple is that we believe in innovation. We believe that we can change the world with innovation. Do you want to buy a computer? The way that all their competitors start off is they start off by, here's the products and features of the computer. Do you want to buy? That will put you to sleep every single time. Start with what you believe. What do you stand for in your life? What's something that's moved you so much to tears? What have you gone through? Next slide. All right, so there's 4 steps to creating momentum, and this is what we focus on with our agents. We start off right down here with belief. And I learned this a couple years ago, and I thought that this was unbelievable. The first thing is our belief. When we come into this world, we come in with our minds essentially just being an empty glass. There's nothing in it. We don't have any preconceived notions. That's the beautiful thing about my son Roman. He literally has no baggage up here. He has nothing. It's only what's input into him later in life. And we start off, and our life is this empty glass. And we could fill up a glass of water with whatever we want. You could fill it up with dirt, you could fill it up with mud, you could fill it up with chemicals, poison, or you could fill it up with purified water. It'll hold whatever you put into it. All of our minds have something called a reticular activating system. And essentially what our reticular activating system does is it starts off, and right now in this room, we're trying to process everything that's going on. You're hearing me speak, you're hearing their air conditioning, people are tapping their fingers, whatever it is, they're getting hungry for lunch. There's over 2 million things that are happening in every single moment. And what your reticular activating system does is it's trying to process through every single thing and try to find something that you already know. In other words, what you already believe. So essentially, anything that you grew up thinking about yourself, any insecurities that you have, your reticular activating system, it tries to grab onto anything around here to reinforce what you already believe. So that's the reason why when an agent starts off, and if their belief is low, they start making phone calls. They might set one appointment, but they won't even acknowledge that. If they don't believe in themselves, they won't even acknowledge the one appointment they set. They hear 2 no's, and what do they tell themselves?
Don't work.
See, I knew it. I knew that I couldn't be successful at this. They're reinforcing what they already believe. And it literally ruins lives. Benjamin Franklin said, most men die at age 25. We just don't bury them till they're 70. I don't want to live that life. I don't want anybody in this room to live that life. And what we stand for at American Legacy and what One Life stands for is we start off with changing people first. And the belief that everybody in this room has, that's going to determine. You cannot hide your beliefs from your results in life. Your results will come from what you believe. So let me give you an example. When I first started in this business, I got off to a quick start. But it's not because I didn't have baggage. It's not because I didn't have a difficult time. When I first started, I had a $10,000 week, my very first week out in the field. I sat down with 39 people, and I made 19 sales. But a lot happened between then and when I was living in Los Angeles. I basically moved home from LA, got a job in final expense, and I changed my thoughts. And the biggest thing that I started is instead of me thinking, gosh, why can these people be successful and I can't? I think that everybody in this room, you put yourself in this box and you say, this is where I fit in the world. And I see Scotty Elliott being this incredible leader, but that's not me. I'm this person. I can make this income. I can have this waistline. That's not me. We see people doing great things on television and in the news, and we say to ourselves, that's them, that's not me. And that stops you from accomplishing ultimately your results. But where I started off is I changed my belief. When I changed my belief, and I said, you know what, I can actually be really successful. I don't know why I changed that belief, but I told myself I could be successful. So what happened when I told myself that I could be successful? I started tapping into all my God-given potential. Everything God had for me at 22 and a half years old, I was able to tap into. Not because I had all the talent in the world, not because I had all the education in the world. I failed out of community college. But it's because God gave all of us unlimited potential. But so many people just don't tap into their potential. So it starts with what you believe. It starts your belief in yourself and the belief in the organization that you have. In other words, you can believe in yourself, but if you don't believe in One Life America, you're not going to tap into much of your potential. Now, it could be the opposite direction. You can believe in One Life America, but you don't believe in yourself. So you need to make that decision. I believe in One Life America, and I believe in myself. Once you are congruent in that, the fact that you believe in yourself, you're going to tap into your potential. Your potential ultimately leads to how much action you take. So what is action? It's being on the conference calls. It's being on GroupMe. It's being at these meetings. You slowly but surely take more action. It's sitting down with 39 people in a week. That's taking action. But I'm not going to take that action if I don't believe in myself. If I think the leads are weak, am I going to take that action? I'm not going to take that action. I'm not going to tap into my potential. By the way, when you don't tap into your potential, you're just walking through the motions. Every single moment that you have, you're just making the phone calls and on Facebook at the same time. Has anybody done that? It's when you're walking through the motion, but when you are living that, and I know everybody in this room has lived that, in that place where you are like, I am in my potential right now. I'm living that right now. It's the best and most liberating feeling in the world because you know that you know that you know that you are achieving what's possible in your life. So taking action. Now, if you take massive action, what kind of results are you going to get? You're going to get a great result. Let me tell you guys something. When I believed in myself, when I tapped into my potential, when I took massive action, and when I had a $10,000 week, the first week I ever had out in the final expense, where do you think my belief was that next week? I believed in myself even more. I tapped into more potential. I took more massive action, and I got a great result. By the time I was 24 years old, I had an agency inside of an agency doing $250,000 a month. They asked me to create a mentor guide at 24 years old. Because of me, it's because I was tapping into my potential. Everybody has that potential, but you got to have your belief. Where do you believe? What do you believe? And why do you believe it? Next. Okay, so another thing. So let's say that you get the result. Now, a lot of us have had $10,000 weeks, but it's all about consistency. Has anybody heard of the compound effect in regards to flipping a penny a day for 31 days? You've heard that. Who else has heard that? Okay, so maybe half the room. So essentially what the story is if you compound a penny for 31 days, in other words, take a penny, flip it, and you get 2 pennies, then 4 pennies, then 8 pennies, 16 pennies, so on and so forth. For 31 days, you will have $10.7 million. Let's go to the next slide. So again, the first day you just start off with a penny. That's literally nothing. After day 10, you only have $5.12. Next one. Day 20, you have $5,242.88. Decent amount of money, but it's so far off from $10.7 million. Then by day 31, the math is the same. You do the same thing. You keep on calling on your recruits. But that compound effect, that consistency, slowly but surely grows to $10.7 million. Now let me show you what I see in the final expense world that I work in and all you guys work in. I work with some ducks every now and then. A duck is somebody who sees on day 1, I only have a penny, so guess what? It's not going to ever turn into anything more than a penny. So they don't even make it in this room. They don't even come. They don't even join our company because they just give up. They're like, I need a W-2 position in a secure job with benefits. I can't do 100% commission. So they're a duck and then they quit. They're not interested. The second person that we run into is what I like to call a dabbler. A dabbler is somebody who basically just kind of dabbles. They're like, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to see if this works for me. And if it doesn't work, I'll have one eye on monster.com. I'll have the other eye on Career Builder. But if it doesn't work for me, then I'll just quit. and I'll just dabble in something else. Now, here's where dabblers get stuck. After they make it past day 1, but day 10, they only have $5.12. They have a rough first week out in the field. And what do? They're like, I only have $5.12. I'm so far off to, let's just call the $10.7 million our destiny. I'm so far off from that $10.7 million, I'm never going to get it, so what do? They quit. But there's some dabblers that are kind of persistent, and they continue to day 20, where they get $5,242.88. But guess what? It's still so far off from your destiny, so what do? They quit. Now, this can mean several different things. I don't think that any of us can realistically expect to make $10.7 million in 31 days, but let's spread that out over 5 years. That's what this business is like. You can have unbelievable results in a relatively short period of time if you're consistent. Next slide. So what are your priorities? I mean, if you're going to have success, if I'm going to have success, and I'm constantly working on that every single day, we've got to have a mission statement for our own life. And go ahead to the next slide. I call my priorities my 5 F words. What my 5 F words stands for is my faith. I was just talking with Scotty about this. I still try to do too much in my own strength. And it is so hard to do it in your own strength, guys. Trying to rely on just yourself with all the stuff that we got to go through is almost impossible. And when I just rely on God, I know that He's going to be able to do things that I can't do myself. So when I put that faith out there on Him, take it off myself, put it on Him, I feel free. But when I try to put it on me, I am stressed out like nobody else's business. Because there's so much stuff that happens throughout the day, the week, the month, the year. And I can't go on in business without putting my faith in Jesus first. So that's my first F word. My second F word is my family. My wife, Jordan, my son, Roman, he's about to turn 1 year old this coming weekend, actually the 8th of August. So he's our only child right now. But they mean everything to me. You know, when I was flying here, I was on the plane, and there was a little bit of turbulence. And I mean, a little bit, it was actually kind of a lot of turbulence. And in the pilot's eyes, it was a little bit. In mine, it was a lot. I was like, whoa. But the first thing that I thought about is, if this plane crashes, the business, everything else doesn't matter. You know what I thought about is my son. You know, I thought about my wife. All of this doesn't matter. And like, I know that's a little bit extreme and dramatic because it was just a little bit of turbulence, but it kind of put things in a perspective for me. The only thing that mattered when I was in the air, 30,000 feet up in the air, was, oh my gosh, I can't tell my son I love him. I love my wife, and I want to show them that, not just with time, but with focused, intentional time. Now, my third F word is my finances. I want to be able to provide really well for my family, and I want to be able to provide really well for my church, for my community. I think that that's one of the reasons why all of us got into insurance. It's not because it's the most glamorous business in the world. It's because we want to be able to provide well for our family. We might want to be able to provide lives that we never were able to have. The fourth F word is my fitness. I've lost about 80 pounds over the last year and a half. I'm very proud of that. But in order for me to be around, in order for me to be the father, the husband that I need to be, I need to ultimately take care of myself. My fitness matters. You know, it's funny, at the end of the night, regardless of when I wake up, I have so much more energy now than when I did when I was 80 pounds heavier. And it's just little changes in my diet that ultimately change my life. So that's my fourth F word, is my fitness. My last one is my friendships. I've developed so many friendships here, but like, relationships are one of those things that God has created for us, and I believe that all of us need to have good friendships. Next slide. All right, so we got to change our standards And my definition of standards are, what are you willing to settle for? We don't get what we want out of life. We get what we're willing to settle for. So if One Life America is not willing to settle for anything less than $100 million a year, I don't care how long it takes, we're going to get there. If American Legacy has a goal, and if it's the standard that we set for ourselves, that we're not going to settle for anything less than this, we're ultimately going to get there. Now, if somebody has an income goal of $100,000, maybe they want to make $100 grand, but they'd be willing to settle for 50. They want to build a multi-million-dollar agency, but they're willing to settle for not building it. So that's the reason why you got to change your standards, is what are you willing to settle for in life? And if you're willing to settle for less, you've got to change that. Or change your goals, maybe to something smaller. Next slide. Your why power. Like I said, everything in this business is so difficult. It's so tough. And I rely on God, but ultimately I have to have a reason why I'm doing it. It's not enough just to make money. It's not enough to just be able to provide for my family. I need to have a stronger reason why. So why do you do what you do? Why are you in the final expense business? Then once you find that out, do whatever it takes, regardless if you feel like it or not. You know, there's some days that I do feel like it, but then there's some days I really don't feel like it. And I struggle fighting that balance of, like, the lazy side of me wants to quit, but the hard-working side wants to continue. Next slide. That's my son, Roman. That's my why right there. You know, I had a rough day out in the field. I went to Indiana, which is about 5 hours away from my house, and I had 8 appointments set, and I struggled that day out in the field. And the next day, I just wasn't feeling it. I just wasn't excited to get back out there in the field. My wife sent me this picture of my son, and I started saying to myself, what if I had to tell that little boy right there that I couldn't get him what he wanted for Christmas because his dad only worked when he felt like it? What if I had to tell that boy right there that he couldn't get braces on his teeth because I only worked when I felt like it? What if I told that boy that he couldn't go to the college of his dreams because his daddy only worked when he felt like it? You've got to have something to push you so hard. And if you don't have kids, have a child and you'll develop a why. All right, next slide. All right, so I learned this one from Brendon Burchard. Actually, I think, Scotty, you're okay. And oh my gosh, unbelievable. So he almost got into a car accident when he was young. I think he might have been a teenager or something. But what went through his mind when he was in that car accident is these 3 questions. And I like sometimes to fast forward my life to when I'm 80 or 90 years old. And I like to think about, what are some things that I'd regret? You know, Jeff Bezos from Amazon, he had a 6-figure income on Wall Street. And he was making $500,000 a year. He had a wife, he had a son before he started Amazon. And he had this great idea of a company to create. And it was Amazon.com. And the way that he decided if he was going to do it is he fast forwarded when he was 90 years old. And he said to himself, if I was 90 years old, would I regret starting this company? And he said, no, I wouldn't regret starting this company at all. But I would regret not starting this company. So the 3 questions that Brendon Burchard asked himself during that car accident, go ahead and next slide. Let's say if he was 85, 90 years old, if I'm 85, 90 years old, if God allows me to live that long, did I live? It's the first question that I am going to ask myself. Did I really live? Did I step outside my comfort zone? Did I make a difference? The next one, go ahead, is did I love? Did I love my spouse? Did I love people that I didn't even know? at Starbucks. People that are out in the community that I've never even met before. Did I make an impact to my agents other than just being an upline? You know, being somebody of influence to them, but did they feel love from me? Then finally, did I matter? Did my existence on this earth even matter to anybody? It doesn't have to be to everybody, but to anybody, did it matter? Did my life make a difference to somebody? And those are the three questions that I've been asking myself lately. Am I living every single day? Am I loving every single day? And do I matter to somebody every single day? And I got to be honest, sometimes I got to answer no to some of those questions. So you reevaluate the next day. Okay, so how are we doing on time? I know we have a lot of hungry people. 15 minutes, okay. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the expectations. So that's the first thing that we start with at American Legacy is building people. Hopefully that helps somebody. Now, well, in regards to the actual mechanics of our business, if you were to come on to our company with American Legacy, not trying to recruit anybody here, but just saying, we start off with expectations. Ultimately, what they're going to expect from us, and then ultimately what we expect from them. So what you can expect from ALIG is a ride-along with a direct upline, phone calls returned in a timely manner, live conference calls, video training, document training, leads at no cost, ongoing training and support, group me business texting. If you could press that green button.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
You're good. There we go. Thanks, man. Okay. Day one vesting with your commissions, accountability, conference calls, in-person training. Then number two, what we can expect out of you. And the beautiful thing is when we start with, here's what you can expect from us, here's what we need to expect out of you, you could find out very quickly, like Brandon was talking about, if they're going to be a good fit. And if we're going to be a good fit for them. Because ultimately, a lot of people don't want to do all this stuff. We got conference calls that we want our agents to be on every day. I know that seems excessive, but I'm paying for their leads. And I got to make a return in order to stay in business. So they got to be on the conference calls, and I can't require anything, but if you're not on the conference calls, you don't get leads. Group me, access to our carriers, day one vesting. Number two, what ALIG expects from you. Complete the ALIG itinerary in a timely manner. We'll go over that in a second. Next one, return phone calls. Be on American Legacy's daily conference calls. I can continue to keep on going on and on, but for the sake of time, we're trying to set a proper expectation. Whenever a manager sits down with somebody, they're going over what you can expect from us and ultimately what we expect from you. Next slide. So the next thing, let's say that they agree. We want to bring that agent on, and they want to come work with us. This is their itinerary. So in other words, they're starting off either without an insurance license, and ultimately, what do they have to do to go from being a non-licensed agent, ultimately where they're on A leads, as we like to call them platinum leads, and there's a lot of stuff in between then. And we really want to systematize our company. I mean, as Frank knows, we have a lot of systems in place to make sure that every single agent that we have on board has the exact same agent experience, that they have the exact same level of training. And if anybody has a manager in between you and the starting line agent, you start to lose that control a little bit of what kind of training they're getting. So putting systems in place is going to be able to help you to grow from 5 agents to 500 agents because everybody's going in that same system. So this is the itinerary, do your ride along, everything like that. Go ahead to the next one for the sake of time. Yes, sir. The welcome email right there. Yep. There we are. All right, yeah, right there. First one, yes, sir. Okay, so this is the welcome email everybody gets. They get Tony and myself's contact information, our office manager, Angela. They get an agent checklist. They get the contracting website from One Life America. They get our conference call information. They get everything that they need right there. And every agent goes through the exact same process. So let's move on to the next email, which is ultimately the training. So when an agent completes their online contracting, we give them our training. So yeah, just go back to the email and then click on the training. Yep, right there. Right there, yep. Okay, so we have about 20 different training videos, from live presentations to replacement sales to running your business, phone scripts, everything else. And we always say, if an agent never talks to me, if they never talk to their upline, and if all they do is just access our training, they're going to have everything they need to be successful. And that's systematizing your business to where you're not trying to do all the heavy lifting yourself, where you're just trying to sit down and train every single agent individually. You're telling them, watch this training video. Watch this video in regards to phone scripts. Overcoming objections, watch this training video. So scroll down here for me real quick. A little bit further. Okay, so right there's Ohio. The next one's sample apps. Go down a little bit further. So those are applications, and go into new agent info. So this is all of our document training. We have how our lead system works there. You don't have to click on this, but how our lead system works, the phone scripts, the American Legacy presentation, Tony's presentation, cancellations. If you do a replacement sale, we send a replacement letter to the insurance company that we're replacing with the client's signature stating, I'd like to stop the payment on the bank draft. We help our clients do that, but obviously they're doing it because they're signing. We're just simply sending it in for them. We also have an agent carrier cheat sheet on which carriers are best suited in which particular situations. We have our A equals R system. Our A equals R system stands for activity equals results. In other words, instead of us always focusing on the annual premium, we're focused on activity. How many face-to-faces, how many door knocks, and how many phone calls you make in every single week. We have a point value for each one of those things, and we just don't have time to go into all that. But those are things that we have access to as well. So the next thing that our agent will get, go ahead and click on the next one. So this is our ALIG, A equals R recap. So as I said, we have a certain amount of phone calls made, certain amount of door knocks that an agent does. All they do is they just type in column C, column E, and column G, whatever their totals were for the week. And it's a shared document. And by the way, if you're not in on this technology stuff, you've got to be in on it, or else it's just going to pass you by, because this stuff is so valuable and it's so easy to use. So essentially, we have a point value that's tied to every single phone call that an agent makes. We tell our agents to hit 1,000 points every single week. And they type in the amount of phone calls they make, the door knocks they do, and the face-to-face presentations that they do. And it gives a certain point total. It's a shared document with anybody that's in their upline, and it's a shared document with Tony and myself. But that's essentially how this works. So let's scroll over a little bit, if we can. Yep, right there. All right, scroll down. Okay, so this is Carson. He's one of our best agents. He's incredibly consistent with his production. 15 to 20,000 a month. His total points for the week was 997 points. We tell people to hit 1,000 points running their A equals R system. And the cool thing is when you change that from annual premium to activity, if your goal is really the activity, it doesn't matter if you have a big sale. A lot of us, when we have a big sale, we slow down for the week. We get a $200 a month premium, $2,400, we hit our daily goal, we do less door knocks. But if the goal is the activity, if the goal is hitting a certain amount of points for the week, for the day, we're ultimately not at our goal hitting that big sale. So again, that's why I think that our agency is averaging $146 a PPL. On average, is they're focused on activity and not the overall result. So that is that right there. Let's go to the next one. So this is our business card website here. If any managers, if you have your own kind of branding, and I'm not sure how that works, but Vistaprint actually has their own website that you get essentially, I think it's like $200. You can co-brand your website with Vistaprint. It's $200. They have you hit a quota every single month. But agents can log on here, store their credit card information, order business cards. Next one. So this is our GroupMe. A lot of people in here are already on GroupMe, but this thing blows up a lot. And let's just scroll up a little bit. I just want to show you guys a few of the comments. I haven't looked at them, so hopefully they're okay.
Oh, sorry. Where's the up scroller? I don't know. These Apple phones are just ridiculous.
All right, so Malvina Rose, great contribution. Dorian, prime time on the conference call. You touched on some important points. Always encouraging stuff here on GroupMe. And if somebody's talking in a certain perverse language that might not stand for our core values, you just got to kind of nip that in the butt, because a cuss word doesn't offend me, but like I don't know who it can offend. So we're very careful and we protect this on kind of what is posted on here, which is really important. But everybody posts their sales every single day. They post inspirational stuff. I have a word of the day. I have a 30-second video that I post like Scott was talking about. And it's just a little bit of encouragement every single day. So finally, let's go to the last slide there. All right, so with every single one of our managers, we have a tracking system. Like I said, when you have somebody in between you and the starting line agent, you lose a little bit of control as to what's going on. We want to have full transparency as to what's going on inside of our organization. So this is one of our top managers. His name is Joe Frankine, great guy. And essentially, this is the process that every single new agent onboarding comes into. They always start off with their itinerary call. They always get the first email. We got to see if they're licensed. They do the insurance-based contracting. They get an ALIG Life email created for them. They do a ride-along. We have every single agent go through every single detail the exact same way. How is McDonald's successful? You open up a McDonald's franchise, you're going to do it the exact same way they do in California, the exact same way they do it in Ohio. It's the same. That's what we have with every single agent. We protect the agent experience so much because we want every agent to have an unbelievable experience with our company. And one way that we make sure of that is that they are going through the same process. So you could see there's business cards ordered, and whenever Joe Frankine is updated, he talks to, let's say, Roy down there. He talks to Roy. He has an app on his phone, and he just goes ahead and updates his app with yes, the Assurance Bay was contracting was complete. When the email was created, it's a yes, and as I said, it's a shared document. So if I want to see where our agents are at, ultimately they just check yes to every single one, and I'm shared in on that as well, and I can see what's going on. So this is how it looks when there's onboarding for our agents, but let's click on this tab right here. So this is how we can actually see how Joe Frankine's agency is doing on the per agent basis. What's the agent average? And we want to make sure that our agents' averages are really high. Our managers' averages are really high. So something that we really focus on our managers' calls is how many conference calls on average are the accumulative of Joe Frankine's agents on per week. We've got 5 conference calls a week. So this states that on average, his agents are on 3.8 conference calls a week. We're really happy with that number. We think that's a solid number. What does his average agent average in annual premium? That's a really important number as One Life rolls out a free lead system. As many of us have a free lead system, what is the per rep average for the average agent annual premium? It's about $2,500. We're actually very happy with that number as well. Another thing is, what's the average closing rate? It's 66%. We're very happy with that. Per the amount of people that you actually sit down, have a full face-to-face presentation with, over how many sales that you make, that's the average there. Now over here, if you scroll over just a little bit, this is our A equals R stuff, and it tells us how much action each individual agent takes on a daily to a weekly basis. So we can see how Joe Frankine's agency is doing. His agent averages 384 phone calls a week. His agency average door knocks, that's down here, 38 door knocks for the week. So the average agent does 38 door knocks. And finally, the average agent face-to-face is 7. So we want to increase that number. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to see, okay, here's some deficiencies in our business. We can see that if we increase the amount of face-to-faces that we have, ultimately we're going to have better results. So one thing that we might talk with Joe about or somebody else is, let's increase that face-to-face up to 10. If he increases his average, per rep average, up to 10, is his annual premium on average going to go up?
Yes.
Now, when we talk to a new agent, how many of our new agents just tell us, gosh, I'm really struggling out there, but I don't know why. They don't know how many phone calls they made. They don't know how many door knocks they did. They don't know how many face-to-faces they have. So how can I help them if they don't know those numbers? Because ultimately, I can't be a fly on the wall in every single house, but if they fill this out, if they tell us what's going on, every single day they're filling out these things. I know how many phone calls. I know how many door knocks. I know how many face-to-faces they do. It's ultimately going to help me help them increase their results. So that's everything. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to come up here and speak.